Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to another episode of Story Time with Uncle Sage. This is the story of when I turned down Charley Pride. So, if you don't know who Charley Pride is, he's one of, I think, only two really big, successful African American country singers. And the Hootie and the Blowfish guy, Darius Rucker, I don't know if he counts because he crossed over from pop rock. So, I mean, really, you could say Charley is, he's the original. And a funny story, if you don't know anything about Charley Pride, is his early hits, he just sounds as country as, he's an authentic country voice. Charley really, really is. And when he first made it, people did not know he was African American because, he just sounded so country. And, he's legit. He's a Texan. And, anyway, he's a legend of country music. Kalijah, is probably a racist song now since it's about a wooden Indian. But Kissin' Angel, Good Morning, that was another one of his big hits. But I had the opportunity to play with him and his band. Now, this would have been after I officially left the music business the first time. And I had been ordained as a minister. And I had just been given my first opportunity to be an assistant pastor at a church. So I was relatively young still in my 20s. And I might have been close to 30. But at any rate, so Charley's band was all younger. And the way I ended up playing with them is kind of weird. Only in Texas. So my sister and her, young adult daughter, my niece, were living in a place called Lake Dallas. It's a suburb of Dallas, Texas, east of the city. And this just so happens to be the same area of town, at Corinth, Lake Dallas area, where Charley Pride and his whole band lived. And at the time, Charley Pride had a show house in Branson, Missouri. And these guys would basically commute back and forth to Branson out of Dallas-Fort Worth and do these shows. And 6 months, I think about 6 or 7 months out of the year, you had to play 3 shows a day, 6 days a week. It was a grind for these guys. The rest of the year, you were pretty much off, and they were able to, except when they would travel, they would go on a European tour at least once a year with Charley. But my sister's kid and the steel guitar player's kid were about the same age, and they met, had a romance, and got engaged, and a wedding was planned. So I knew that my niece was about to marry Charley Pride's steel guitar player's son. And so we had the wedding ceremony at the church where I was the assistant pastor. And there was talk that maybe we could get Charley to come out and sing the wedding, So it was hit and miss, but then towards the end, sure enough, Charley Pride's going to show up to his steel guitar player's son's wedding and sing at the wedding. So, I got the church all ready and, everything that goes along with a wedding. And, I was also kind of family too. So I was dealing with the nervous bride and the upset bride of the mother running around. It was just, weddings. But the day of the wedding came along, and pretty soon Charley Pride's band showed up. And they got a load of me. They did not expect me. While they were setting up and playing, I'm just like, they didn't bring their piano player. Their piano player was Charley Pride's original piano player, who was, Charley's age and had been with him for years and years, since the very beginning. And but he didn't travel with them all the time. And so when they started playing, I snuck up. Well, actually, they heard me playing because I played for the wedding. So they heard me in the rehearsal. When they went to play, they said, "Hey, bro, come play with us, man. Seriously, we want you to play." And so we just, we had a jam session there before the wedding. And they invited me to play for Charley when he showed up to sing. And we did 3 numbers. I can't remember all of them. One was a song about a rose. and the other one was I think he did Kalijah, and I think it was like a concert, like a mini concert, and we did Kiss an Angel Good Morning, I think, as well. But anyway, so we practiced a little bit, and these guys were just head over heels for me. They were just like, wow, man, you're such a breath of fresh air. You're such a great piano player. And we were the same age. Charlie's whole band, except for his piano player, was all my age. Young guys in their late 20s to early, late 20s to late 30s, around in there. So we hit it off, man. We were like old long lost friends. And it comes time for Charley to show up at the church, and he's lost, and he calls in on the phone. And when I was a kid, I'd seen Charley Pride in the old TV show called The Battle of the Network Stars. And he was doing some kind of basketball competition with some other stars. And he totally lost his cool, man. Like, he threw a mad fit, threw the ball down, cussed everybody out. They had to beep him. It was like nothing you ever saw on Battle of the Network Stars. And I still remembered that. And so I'm on the phone with Charley Pride, and I'm trying to give him directions on how to get to the church. And he's just beside himself. Like, he's already lost it. He's angry. He's yelling into the phone. And I'm like, I can't believe I haven't even met him yet. And I'm getting griped out by Charley Pride, And so anyway, eventually, after about the fourth phone call and the fourth ear chewing I get, finally I get in the car and I go get him. I find him at the corner, and he follows me back to the church. And so we had the wedding ceremony, and I play with the band and we perform, and the guys just love me. And after the wedding, they hang around there, and Charley Pride had a British manager with a thick, kind of almost Cockney accent. He was definitely a Brit. And so he pulls me aside, and he goes, look, mate, I've been talking to the band. I can't do British accents. I've been talking to the band, and they say you're the bloke, you're the one they want, and they want rid of this other guy. And I won't even try it. I'm done with the accent. I know it sucks. I'm not good at the accents, but he's like, in a British accent. He's like, yeah, they want rid of this other piano player. They've been trying to get him out for a long time, and you are the answer. Charley likes you. Everything was cool, mate, and we want to offer you a job. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. And I said, well, what's the job? And he said, well, we want you to do the Branson show, 3 shows a day, 6 days a week. And that's a grueling schedule, but you get the other like 4 or 5 months pretty much off. You're going to do one European tour and whatever little things like this that he might want to do throughout the year. And for that, we're going to pay you $100,000 plus medical and dental plus a 401k. And it's all legit. And all you got to do is just say yes. And I had just taken that position as assistant pastor. I had the call to the ministry. I'd left the music business, and here I am facing possibly one of the biggest opportunities of my life. $100,000 to me back then was a lot. It's still a lot of money. But back then, that was like, might as well have been $1 million, and he wasn't asking me to sign my soul away. I mean, these guys seem like great cats, they were making a living playing for Charley and Branson. And so I was like, well, let me think about this. I got to talk to my wife. And so then another thing happened. We went to the reception that was held at the steel guitar player's house. And of course, we're there with Charley Pride and all sitting around the pool hanging out. And I don't know what this is, kind of a personal family thing, but I'm going to share it. My niece I don't know if she didn't want to be married, if it was just all too much for her, but she proceeded to get completely hammered. Like, she got so drunk. And I was kind of unaware. I was hanging out with the band, talking, and eating dessert when my niece comes out from the house, kind of half-dressed and stumbling. And she says some stuff and yells back at some people like a really hammered, extremely drunk person would do. And then she falls in the pool. Well, it was like, I think it was either early spring or late fall. It was not swimming time. You know what I'm saying? And she comes pulling out of the pool like a wet like a wet rat and wanders off. And of course, my wife runs off to check on her with the family and everything. And pretty soon, I hear a big commotion, and as it turns out, I guess she went into the steel guitar player's house, got on the couch, and threw up on the white couch. So then they, this is the most unbelievable story, I know, right? But they managed to get them together, the two of them, and they send them off to the airport because they've purchased this big trip to Florida, and they got to catch a plane. And I guess what eventually happens there is she gets to the airport and she's too hammered. They won't let her on the plane. They have a big fight. They go their separate ways, the bride and groom, and they end up getting the marriage annulled. That's how that all went down. So that was embarrassing, but the job offer was still there. That it wasn't enough to make them not want me to play in their band, even though I have, I guess, crazy kin. But anyway, so I go to my wife, and I got little kids at the time, and that job offer would have been about 3 times what she was making at her job. And we could have easily, more than doubled our monthly income, our yearly income, and could have moved to Branson. But she would not give up her job. She didn't want to move to Branson. And I said, okay, so what if I go, and it's because it wasn't like you had to be there all the time, because it wasn't, they would do 3 weeks of those shows where you're doing 3 shows a day, 6 days a week. You do it for 3 weeks, then you get 2 weeks off. 2 weeks you come back. I don't know if they had another act that took his place for those 2 weeks, but it was 3 weeks in Branson, 2 weeks home. 3 weeks in Branson, 2 weeks home. 3 weeks in Branson, 2 weeks home. So I'm like, hey, can I just do that? I'll just go back and forth, You can make it 3 weeks without me, then I'll be back for 2 weeks, and I'll do that for a while, and we'll make a bunch of money and, buy a house or something. And then she says something that chills me to the bone to this day. It's hard to even talk about. But she looks me in the eye and she goes, if you go to Branson, Missouri for 3 weeks, when you get back, there'll be another man sitting in your chair and your kids will be calling him Daddy. I kid you not. So I had a come to Jesus meeting. I sat down and I prayed it out, and I was like, well, Lord, I see this as just a temptation. I don't want to destroy my family. I just got the calling, and I know I'm supposed to be here preaching, and so I'm just going to turn them down. So I turned down Charley Pride and a 6-figure salary. That old guy still gigging? I might still be in his band if I'd have joined. Yeah, he still goes out and plays. I don't know if he keeps a band, but he's still on the road. I think he's in his 80s, 83, 84 now. But I heard him recently, and he's still got a golden voice. But that's the story of when I turned down Charley Pride.